Welcome to another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. This is Steve Gamache, and what we have this time is the Harukaze VG-10 Tsuchime or hammered Gyuto 210mm knife. And the way these are made, they are multi-layer construction. So the center hardcore cutting edge steel in the middle is VG-10 full stainless steel. Heat treats about 60 Rockwell on that. And the VG-10 it's a nice rendition, so it sharpens well and it keeps a pretty decent edge, but it's a good implementation of that, so that's important as well. The construction has multiple layers of stainless cladding, soft stainless cladding on either side of that, and you can clearly see that where the knife is ground down towards the edge and starts to thin out towards the edge with those layers. And then it also has a regular style kind of hammered pattern into it. So a lot going on with this knife, a fair amount of polish to it, as you can see just from the reflections. So we'll take a close-up look at it, but very interesting, very nice looking knife. The weight and dimensions should be fairly similar to knife, but they can vary a little bit. This particular one is 185 grams, or 6.5 ounces, and the edge length is right about 2/14, about 8.5 inches from the tip all the way down to the back of the heel, known as the chin back here. And the overall length is about 334, 335 millimeters. The thickness on these are fairly thin knives, so I got about just around 2 millimeters, a little bit under. It's a little hard with the dimples there to measure at some parts, but around 2 millimeters, maybe a little bit less on the spine. And we don't have a lot of thinning out of the spine as we get towards the tip. Pretty much we've got a fairly generous grind where the knife starts thinning out as it's ground down towards the edge, and you'll see that does thin out pretty nicely at the tip. So these knives have good performance. They're not like super lasers, but they're very respectable performers. So you got a nice thin tip there. And then here's the knife from the back side. This is known as the choil, the back of the knife. And let me get that right there. There you go. So fairly thin grind as well towards the edge. The height on this is about 45 millimeters even. That can vary a little bit from knife to knife. And the handles, I believe they're labeled rosewood. It kind of looks like that, or even possibly walnut, but it's a, kind of a little bit more brownish tones than reddish tones on the ones I've had. And so they've got stainless rivets. They have a full stainless tang that goes all the way through the handle, and you got your slabs on both sides, and then what's known as a pinned-on bolster. So it's not an integrated bolster where it kind of flows into the blade, but it's known as a pinned-on bolster. And handle sizes are just kind of good, normal sizes for the style of knives. I've do 5 knives in this series in this video set here, and each handle's sized slightly different. And not too curvy, not too blocky, so just good medium handle that should suffice well for many people. Let's see, let's do balance point first. So with a full tang handle, that brings the balance point back a little bit, but there is your balance point. So it's pretty much about right there. And so on a pinch grip, it'll be a little bit handle heavy. On a racket grip, it'll be a little bit more neutral, so just depending on how you like to grip the knife. Let's get our beauty shot on these. I'd say fit and finish is good on these. The spine, there we go. A lot of reflections going on here, folks. The spine is got a slight bit of relief on the corners, and the choil has a little bit as well. Some people might want to put a little more rounding on that. That's really up to you. I think this one's pretty comfortable out of the box, but they can vary just a little bit. Out of the box edge, it's pretty sharp. It's a pretty well ground edge, but it's fairly coarse, so it's not a real fine grit on there. So this will definitely get sharper if you put a little bit more polish or finer grit on there. This is also a good chance if you don't sharpen, you may want to think about getting the Chef Knives to Go Finish sharpening service, where they will put a really nice edge on this, and that will give you a good reference point for 2 things. One is how sharp can this knife get, and the second is what is edge retention like with a good, well-crafted edge on it. And those are 2 good kind of data points for you. They do have some laser-etched kanji on the right side of the blade as you'd be holding it. And the left side of the blade is without any kind of markings. But as you can see, very nice looking blade. So this is your cladding, there's your various layers, and then where that finishes off down here, that's the core steel, and that shiny part is the edge itself, edge bevel. I would say this is a fairly stiff blade for the thinness of it. So it gives you a lot of confidence on the cutting board. All stainless, so it's easy maintenance. And let's look at the cutting edge profile. These tend to have pretty versatile profiles. So you'll see here, not a huge flat area, but it kind of gets a little more shallow in the middle back half, and then you got a little bit of a roll to the heel, to the chin back there. Every knife's going to be slightly different, but this will give you a general idea of what they try to do. So you've got a pretty versatile section back there. You could do a little chopping in this area. The belly kind of gets a little more aggressive towards the tip, so that means I can get pretty high before that tip wants to start digging into the cutting board. So this will rock really nicely. They do have a pretty smooth, all the knives I've had in this group here have been pretty smooth in terms of rolling into a rock, so no big catches or anything. So that's a good sign. Consistently nice edge profiles that are user-friendly. So just a good all-around profile that'll accommodate a pretty wide variety of cutting types, techniques. So it's just a good high-value line that looks really nice. It's all stainless. If you like a full tang, yo, or western handle, you know, it's a nice line. So this is the Harukaze VG-10 Tsuchime or hammered Gyuto 210mm knife.